The radio signal cut to absolute silence exactly 250,000 miles from Earth. For the crew of Artemis II, that sudden lack of static wasn't just a technical glitch. It was the weight of a 250,000 miles of void pressing against the hull. In that vacuum, every breath became a reminder that technology was the only thing standing between them and the crushing isolation of deep space. This is what true silence feels like. Reality of the far side of the moon, a place where radio waves simply cannot reach and where the line between engineer and astronaut disappears. And the last detail? It is the one that changed my entire perspective on human fragility, a truth that even the brightest mission control centers on Earth cannot prepare you for. So sit back, take a breath, and let's explore the edge of the world. On April 6th, 2026, the Orion spacecraft, or Integrity, as we called her, carried four of us into the deepest silence ever experienced by our species in over 50 years. We were not just passing by, we were stepping into a void where the physical mass of the moon acts as a cosmic shield against every signal from our home planet. You have to understand, we are wired for constant connection. Our entire civilization is built on the premise that if something goes wrong, you can pick up a radio, hit a frequency, and get a solution from the ground. But back there, behind the far side, that safety net was physically severed by the curvature of the lunar surface. For 40 minutes, there was no voice, no data packet, no thumbs up from mission control. Just four people inside a pressurized shell of titanium and glass, drifting through the dark, trusting that the machines we built would do exactly what they were programmed to do. The engine burn that was supposed to swing us back toward Earth. It happened autonomously while we were completely off the grid. If that engine failed, or if a valve stuck, or if a sensor misfired, we would have been flying blind into the deep black, completely unaware that our trajectory was off until it was too late to fix. It is a terrifying realization, but as a pilot, it is also a strange kind of freedom. You stop looking at the instruments as suggestions from Houston and start looking at them as your only reality. If you are finding this perspective on space travel interesting, hit subscribe. We are digging into the human side of the final frontier every week, and the technical insights I am about to share only get deeper from here. Now, here's where it gets interesting. People often think spaceflight is all about the hardware, the rockets, the thermal shielding, the life support, but the hardware is only as good as the trust we place in it when the lights go out. Before we even left the pad, I remember a moment where we had a communication link issue. A technician actually went into storage and pulled out shuttle-era heritage equipment to get us the signal quality we needed. It was a beautiful irony. We were sitting on top of the most advanced rocket ever built, about to rewrite the record books for distance from Earth, yet we were saved by a piece of gear from the 1980s. It taught me that innovation is not just about the newest microchip. It is about knowing how to make things work when the cutting edge hits a wall. During those 40 minutes of silence, my crewmates, Reed, Victor, and Christina, and I had a term for our mental state. We called it the joy train. We were not constantly on it, but we were constantly trying to get back to it. When you are staring at a puncture risk that could force you to live in your own pressurized suit for the entire journey back, fear has a way of creeping in. But we had to compartmentalize. That is something fighter pilots learned early on. You don't ignore the fear, you turn it into a sharper, more focused alertness. I remember looking out the port, watching the craters of the far side scroll by, seeing planes that no human eye had ever gazed upon in all of history. I felt an overwhelming sense of insignificance, yet simultaneously, I felt the weight of the thousands of engineers, scientists, and planners who had poured their lives into this. I wasn't just Jeremy Hansen out there. I was a mirror, reflecting the collective effort of everyone who dreamed of going back to the moon. All right, remember how I said I had one more piece of the puzzle that changed my entire outlook on survival? This is it. It is about the go or no-go dynamic. We have this tendency to view astronauts as these heroic figures who make split-second decisions while the whole world watches. But the true heroism wasn't in our actions during the blackout. It was in the courage of the ground team to say no-go when the systems weren't perfect before we even left. There is a profound humility in admitting you aren't ready to launch. We often celebrate the launch itself, but the decision to scrub, to wait, to be safe, that is the most sophisticated technological decision you can make. It reminded me that our survival in space isn't a miracle of engineering. It is a miracle of human agreement. It is thousands of people agreeing that my life and the lives of my crew are worth the delay. Once you see the mission that way, you can never go back to viewing space as just a cold, technical achievement. It becomes something deeply, fundamentally human. The silence of the moon is vast, yes, but it is not empty. It is filled with the presence of everyone you left behind on that blue marble. And when we finally broke the blackout, when we finally sent the first signal back to Houston, the sound of that static clearing wasn't just a technical achievement. It was the sound of humanity reaching across the void to pull us back into the fold. So, that is the reality of Artemis II. It is not just about how far we went, but about how much of ourselves we have to bring to the table to make it home. If you got value from this, please share it with someone who looks at the stars and wonders what it is really like. Hit subscribe and stick around, because I have got something even better coming for you next week. We are only just beginning to learn what it means to be a spacefaring species, and I'm glad you are along for the ride.